a sequel of a movie that came out 8-9 years ago potentially. I'm not sure.
A while
it was
ago,
like
yeah.
a while ago.
Not quite legacy sequel.
It's not. It's a direct sequel.
Yeah. Oh, but you know what I mean? Like legacy sequel, where it's
a sequel that's been made
25 years
later.
Yeah.
But these guys look pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But the reason why I frame it in that way is it feels like whoever made this movie was pitching it to a producer in the sense that, hey, we need an original IP that hasn't been done before. You know what hasn't been done before? An action hero who's also an accountant. Yeah. We're talking about The Accountant 2, ladies and gentlemen.
And if you didn't know from that clue, here's another clue. We're going to do some dialogue from the movie. Braxton. Don't do that, Braxton.
Okay, you haven't seen the first one, have you?
No. So it's going to be interesting because you've seen the first one. I did go to see it with my dad who had seen the first one.
Okay.
So he filled me in on a little bit, but it was very much... Like he gave me like 2 notes before the movie because I was actually quite interested to see would it work having not seen the first one
as a standalone movie.
Yeah.
Which
I think it does.
I think you think it does.
I think it does.
There are action movies like more recent ones that do have a sort of anthology style series. Like for instance, did you ever watch The Equalizer with Denzel Washington?
Right. Yeah.
You watch those 3 movies, none of them are connected other than the fact that Denzel Washington's the leading man.
Yeah.
I watched Equalizer 3 with my dad, and he hadn't seen number 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, this is a neat little action movie. Not realizing that there were 2
I wonder
other
if
ones.
they've made more.
Yeah. It was like, oh, that's an interesting title, Equalizer 3. I would have thought they wouldn't start at 3. And then I said, Dad, this is the 3rd one. He's like, oh, I thought maybe that was his name.
Oh.
Equalizer the 3rd.
Maybe it is. Maybe we just don't know that.
Yeah.
Because he would have the same name, wouldn't he, if he was the 3rd?
Exactly. You know, you think of Henry VIII. No one's seen the first 7, have they?
Yeah, exactly. But Henry VIII works as a standalone sequel.
The Accountant 2. Or as we call it, The Accountant Squared, for some reason.
That's how the titles are presented for some reason.
That's how maths work.
I guess that means The Accountant times The Accountant.
Yeah.
Mathematically speaking. There's not a lot of accounting in this. I would like to ask you, was there a lot of accountancy stuff? Because apart from near the very start where he was talking about, send that money that person owes me to this account and this one to this account. And then after that, he was just...
There was a moment where he did a beatdown of some dude, and while he was looming over him, he just gave him like tax facts. He was like,
yeah. He was talking about his tax return, so,
dividends.
He did a bit of accountancy.
He did a little bit of that, but then for the most part, really wasn't anything to do with any taxes at all.
No, I'd say the film is unusual in that it almost completely glosses over the fact that he does accountancy for criminals, because that's the setup, isn't it? That he's the accountant and drug cartels.
Had you seen the first one, you probably would have that as context. So I think anyone going in watching The Accountant 2 and realizing there's not a whole lot of accountancy in this movie, like imagine going in not even seeing the poster. You'd be like, a movie about all these
imagine
tax
going
men.
to Mission Impossible and then it's the second one and he just goes to the shop for some milk. And you're like, that wasn't that difficult. I mean, it went up 30p a pint. That's about it. But he had his debit card, so he was all right.
I watched The Equalizer 2, and I was like, this guy's terrible at maths.
He's not equalizing anything.
No.
If anything, he's putting too much on one side, making it more unequal to begin with.
So how did you find The Accountant Squared as a standalone movie?
I did enjoy it. I know that,
Take all the accountancy stuff aside, the law behind it,
Yeah, those 45 seconds where he did accountancy stuff. Yeah, I mean, obviously there were bits where I thought, okay, if I'd seen the first one, this would be slightly deeper, because for example, my daddy quickly leaned over and whispered, like, J.K. Simmons, he was hunting Ben Affleck in the first one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he said as a shorthand, he couldn't remember the actor's name, so he just said J. Jonah Jameson's been hunting Ben Affleck, and I was like, that's great. I want the accountant.
By the way, son, this guy, get me pictures of Spider-Man. He was hunting pictures of Spider-Man.
I heard the accountant was there. But it worked because I could still work out, okay, J.K. Simmons has some sort of connection to Ben Affleck. And really, there were bits of the plot of The Accountant too. There were times where I was not following what was happening. Even that didn't matter. So even the plot I was privy to, I didn't fully understand in places until I purposefully actually connected the dots. It's not one that you can sit there and go and just let wash over you. If you want to follow the plot, you have to sit there and go, oh, okay, so that person does it. Blah, blah, blah.
I've got something to add on that.
It's not like Inception level where it's going to confuse you.
No.
But go on.
Like, how you said
you add away.
So I think that it's interesting that you said that you were piecing things together while watching it, not knowing anything prior to it. It's been a hot minute since I watched The Accountant 1. And even I was struggling to kind of follow exactly what was going on with the movie, only because I don't know if it was the fact that I had forgotten a lot of what happened in the first movie, or if it just felt very convoluted, because there were times where I was watching it and thinking, oh, how did we get here? And there were lots of moving parts in this movie. And there was a moment where I just thought, what is happening?
Yeah.
There's this why don't we just talk about the story for a sec?
Yeah, let me just multiply something there. I would say I appreciate.
You came into this podcast episode.
I know I've got
thinking
all the
about
vocab. Being a junior school teacher, I've got it all. Take away, divide.
Yeah, the square root of this movie is.
Let me square root something for you.
Hi.
I appreciated that in some ways, the film did not spoon feed. I appreciated that. Although I will say I'm not a huge fan of intertitles. You know, when you get the little things coming up on the screen.
Okay.
64
Homeland Security.
Yeah. So Homeland Security, 65 miles south of Washington. And there was literally one where I think it had the sign. There was a sign of where it was, and then it came up in little words at the bottom. And I just thought three quarters of the screen is taken up with where we are right now, when it doesn't.
Ben Affleck's house and just Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. Well, I think it did say something like a version of it was like Homeland Security on the wall, and then Homeland Security. Yes, I know. But for the most part, the film doesn't spoon feed. I would say the action is pretty decent. I don't know how it compares to the first one. It's okay. It's nothing like, whoa.
Here's my hot take on it. I think the action was the least interesting part of the movie.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed the bits in between more than I did the action.
Did you like the brother comedy stuff? That's what I
did.
Yeah,
I did. But let's talk about what the movie's about first. So,
sure.
This accountant, he's so good that he also knows kung fu, and knows how to bear arms. Yeah, gun fu. But all that was explained in the first movie, and I won't spoil the first movie unless you don't mind, or anyone who's listening doesn't mind. But yeah, there's a background to it. There is a reason why he knows all this stuff, and it's due to his upbringing. And he is trying to investigate all these moiders,
All these moiders.
All these moiders.
Can we have 1 week without a moider?
So right off the top of the movie, I mean, this might be a bit of a spoiler, but an important figure has been murdered, and it's up to Ben Affleck to try and find the perpetrator. And there's this really convoluted story on as to how this particular assassin came to be. And that's the one thing I said earlier that I was like, how did we get here and what's going on here?
Sure.
Because it felt like a plot contrivance to me.
Okay.
But he is also joined by his brother. So what are the characters again? It's Christian Walker,
Christian
right?
Wolf and
Braxton Wolf, yeah.
Who meet very briefly at the end of the first one, so I've been told.
Yes.
Don't want to spoil it anymore if you want to watch the first one.
Yeah.
But they meet very briefly at the end of the first one, and then in this one, they're very much firmly together. Not from the start.
No. It's been explained that they've been estranged for about 8 years or so.
Yeah.
Which is almost the same amount of time between the first movie and the second movie. It's almost like they thought of that before. One thing I also noticed that Anna Kendrick was in the first one, but she's not in the second one at all. And I looked up why, and they said there was no logical reason for her to be in the movie.
Oh, okay.
So that's why she didn't come back.
Because I saw a review that also said it's action-packed from the start. Which is not really.
Accountant 1 or 2?
Accountant 2.
Yeah.
Because it also has these more comedic bits where Christian Wolf, Ben Affleck's character, is trying to, find someone.
Yeah.
He's trying to romance it up, which leads to a very funny speed dating sequence.
Yeah.
And I think it's that sort of humor where you're not laughing. Well, it's almost like you're laughing at him and with him at the same time. Right. I feel.
Oh, one thing that we do have to mention is the fact that Ben Affleck's character has a condition, and it's never outwardly said in the movie. I think it was mentioned in the first movie, but he's very clearly on the spectrum. So he finds it difficult to socialize. He finds it difficult to communicate and take in social cues.
Yeah.
And
I would say the best example
and it brings
is when
great comedy. No, I mean, like, we're not laughing at him.
Wacky misunderstandings. No, it's that bit in the bar, and this isn't really a spoiler. He's talking to someone and they say, hey, do you have a music request for the band? And it's a country and western place.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say that. She says, what's your favorite song? And he ends up saying something like Enter Sandman by Metallica. And he doesn't understand the like in the context she's asking for like a song that would fit in a country and western place that the band could play.
And then he catches himself saying something like, something a bit more contextual with this establishment.
Yeah. And then his brother asks him about it, and he just says, that's just not how my brain works.
Yeah.
So it is like you say, you're not, it's not like he's the butt of the joke.
No.
You're laughing. I don't even know if it's laughing at him. You're laughing along with him.
You're laughing at the circumstance that he's in and the situation. And I think you're
watching this relationship where the character of Braxton can take the mickey out of him, can mock him because they're brothers.
Yeah.
And it's that sibling stuff that I quite enjoyed. Sorry, I cut you off there. Go on.
No, that's fine. I mean, it would be much more different if it was somebody else with him. And he's like, oh, man, you're so weird, man. And it's like, okay, that would be distasteful. But because his brother says it, it's like he's lived with him and he knows what he's like.
Yeah.
And it's not like they do butt heads, but ultimately they're just looking out for each other, aren't they?
It's sibling bickering. Like even at its worst, within 20 seconds, they both agree to go with each other, even though one of them thinks this plan is a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah.
So it is. Sibling.
How do we get
it's a sibling comedy movie. Go on.
How do we get to where we're? So we talked about the cowboy bar scene. But then, the Western the cowboy
which has that great still shot of John Bernthal as he's leaping over.
That was such an interesting edit choice.
Yeah, I don't know if that was on purpose or if they found it in the editing room and they just thought, let's go with it. But we won't spoil it. But it's really funny.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me a little bit of in Spider-Man 2, where Peter Parker's doing the raindrops keep on my head.
Okay, yeah.
And then at the end, it goes like, "No, will always be true," and then he does this like freeze frame. That was not planned until the editing room. Or like that seemed like such an
Yeah,
interesting
it's when
choice.
you see things and it's like, okay, they found that.
Yeah. Anyway, we haven't really talked about what the story is. So like, what's the main goal of the movie? They're trying to find the killer.
They're trying to find the killer.
There's other things going on.
Has amnesia of some kind. I don't want to spoil it. So she can't remember her life before an accident she had. But it's also her circumstances are linked to the person that J.K. Simmons' character is trying to find, which is a family. He's trying to find a family, and this killer is somehow mixed up with it. And the husband and the child are also missing.
Yeah.
And then it's up to Christian Wolff to sort of help find that family, along with a federal agent of some kind. She works for, I don't know, some Homeland Security type thing. Yeah.
So it's essentially, it's like a road trip movie, isn't it?
Yes, with a bit of, I would say, it reminded me a bit of the Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher movies, where you've got a bit of a tad of fantasy fulfillment. Like the scene in the bar where, again, I won't go into too much detail, but someone just unnecessarily rude and aggressive comes up to him, starts a fight, and lo and behold, him and his brother can easily beat them up. And there is a little bit of, I'd say, like that base male wish fulfillment thing that would be similar to that sort of genre.
Kind of like, you imagine the scenario in your head.
Like, I wish, that guy who was rude to me in that pub one time, man, I wish I could have done that, because, they also have no consequences because it's a movie. And so there's a bit of that wish fulfillment. Don't go in thinking it's realistic in any way, really.
Oh, it absolutely is not.
And especially they've got that magic house full of magic children who are... Yeah. I need green lights down this road for the next 30 miles.
I saw some comparisons being made to like X-Men and like the school of gifted children.
Okay.
They just have all these superpowers, but their superpower is they're just great at hacking. Yeah. It's very strange. Very strange thing to have in a movie. But it's like Ben Affleck's character, was his name Christian, like his minions, essentially.
Yeah. It's implied that he's found these people over the years and he's sort of helped them. They've been in situations where that have not been great or ideal for them, and he finds a home for them. And he's very much like, yes, they pretty much do my bidding, but I also provide for them and I give them safety from whatever situation they're in.
I don't remember any of this in the first movie.
Okay, so that's not in the first movie.
I think maybe it was alluding to something. I don't remember it that much.
Okay.
But I do remember the formula of this movie being quite similar to the first movie.
Okay. So was there a lot of buddy comedy stuff?
No, minus the John Berthel stuff.
Okay.
The Braxton character. But in terms of the structure, it was very much like, here's the accountant. He has it's like a cop procedural thing with the straight man or whatever. Anna Kendrick's character is trying to like figure out what's inside the mind of this accountant, and then he's like Rain Man doing all this stuff.
Right. And she can also be the audience surrogate, so she can ask questions like, "What's next? Where are we going?"
Exactly. But then and then it all mounts up to a crescendo towards the end, and it's like it's almost the same structure, except this time there's a bit more comedy and there's a bit more buddy friend stuff.
And I agree with you that is the highlight of the film.
Yeah, like the bar scene. I think the comedy stuff was the strongest part. Like even the speed dating scene at the beginning was.
I was about to say even the speed. There's a bit in the trailer where he just very bluntly talks about where he lives, and he lives in essentially a camper van almost, isn't it? I can't remember what the actual term is, but then he gets asked what for like all your life, or like she says forever, and he says, well, yeah, eventually you know, for the rest of my life, because eventually this body will be a corpse. And
and they're all just kind of put off. Like at the beginning, there's a ton of them like lined up because.
Oh yeah, and it's great, because it starts off with that little thing of like, why are they all? Because he goes to this speed dating thing where apparently all the women there decide who to meet first, and all the guys are sat at tables with numbers, and pretty much everyone lines up at his table.
Yeah,
but then it goes terribly wrong. And it's quite a nice, neat little setup to who he is. It was quite a nice introduction for me, having not seen the first film. Yeah, to be like, okay, it's this.
He's this type of guy. Yeah. Because I think I don't remember if it was in the trailer or not, but I know that there was a clip of it released online as to why they're all queuing up for him, and it's because he's somehow figured out a way. He's so smart that he's figured out a way to like hack the system in terms of how to get dates.
Yeah, well, it's almost like not even. Well, it's part hacking, part just figuring out what
the algorithm or whatever it is.
He understands what the women want without fully understanding what women want.
Yeah. So he's like got these like really cheesy pictures of him smiling like next to.
He works out what's best in a dating profile.
Yeah.
But then when it actually gets to the date, he fails miserably.
Yeah.
Which is in the trailer, so we're not spoiling it.
Yeah.
Don't.
Anyway,
don't try.
I guess we can talk about the rating. Don't at us, please,
don't
accountants.
Oh, that would be the worst. Come into our house and
throw at signs at us. Like how Superman throws his S sometimes. So I think I would have loved to have a bit more inventive action in the movie. I don't particularly like it when a movie just does an action sequence for the sake of an action sequence. Okay. And for me, I like it when it becomes when it's something that I've not seen before. I think we talked about this in Havoc last week, where it just felt like play by numbers for me.
Okay. And you wanted that bit in the movie where you went, oh, wow, do you remember that bit when he did that thing with the stuff? Yeah. And
that there wasn't really much of that in this. I walked away thinking like, oh, remember that bit where John Bernthal talked to Ben Affleck? That was great.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's what we're talking about, isn't it? Do you remember the speed dating bit where he said like, corpse and like the bit where he threw away the sun cream and just laughed in his face?
But the fact that it's marketed as an action movie and there's, for me anyway, barely any like memorable action. Yeah, it kind of it speaks to me what the tone of the movie was supposed to be. Like it felt like they had a bit of a identity crisis, or it struggled with its identity throughout the movie. It kind of had a buddy cop thing, and then when it became serious, it was like very serious. So I felt like it could have leaned more into the silliness of it. But for that, I think I'm probably just going to give it a chat in. Okay. Like without the G, just a chat in. You were about to say something when I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, it's fine. I was going to say that the action is almost superfluous.
Okay.
Identity-wise, it could have just been a mystery without the violence bits.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as we started talking about it, the movie that's jumped up in my mind is actually Little Miss Sunshine. This family road trip.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I've heard it's good.
I remember it being really fun. I haven't seen it for a while. But
Steve Carell.
It's a family road trip where, things don't go fully according to plan, and there's a lot of clashing personalities. I'm thinking, could you have had that with these two characters without the action?
Yeah.
Maybe they're still on the hunt for someone. Maybe it's still there. Maybe there's still a mystery.
Yeah.
But I guess that
you already
that
set the first one up being an action movie, so you have to kind of give people what they want.
And it also gives good stuff for the trailers, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I feel like if the movie, I mean, I know this would be a spoiler. Anyway, like I'll talk about spoilers in a sec. But what's the rating that you'd give it?
I think I'd agree. I was thinking the same as you. A chat in.
Chat in, yeah.
Yeah. No G.
Okay. No
Chatan, as they say in France. Chatan. That's how they do the potatoes. sliced
Shaitan?
really thin. Yeah, shaitan.
Is that
It's
actually
like potatoes gratin, but it's shaitan, so it's slightly different.
Okay. So
Sounds a bit rude.
next time we give it a chat in, we just need to
shaitan.
include a little bit of that, like an imagery of potato done French style.
Yeah. Swimming in cream.
Spoilers. Let's talk about spoilers for like just 5 minutes.
Sure.
There's not much for me that I want to say, but that bar scene and the freeze frame towards the end took me by surprise because it felt like it was leading up to a big action bar fight scene, and then it just freeze frames
that
on.
It didn't.
and then
but
suddenly
his face told the whole story. His face said everything that was going to happen.
Yeah. So the thing is, like in the movie, Ben Affleck's character is confronted by an angry bar goer. I don't know what he had a problem with. He just he was dancing with his
he
girl.
thought that the woman that he was chatting up was like he saw her as like she's my girl, and she was like I'm not your girl.
Did you find it quite endearing when he figured out that he could line dance?
Yes.
And he was just every now and then, this is great.
Yeah. Well, I really love that. And when it cut to Braxton, like sitting up, and he was like telling everyone, "That's my big brother," like that's super proud.
Brother. Yeah.
And I think it says a lot about the film that a lot of it relies on also their chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of genuine chemistry between them, and you can see them as brothers.
Yeah. But no, I found that bit quite funny, and I also felt like there were times, especially when it was just them two talking, there was a surprising amount of heart to it. Like for instance, that scene when they're on top of the camper van, and he's just talking to him, like how he misses him, and he said, "Did you ever miss me? Like, why didn't you reach out to me? Is it because you just don't like me or something?"
Yeah.
I felt like that was just like the strongest, but I found that I would have been fine if the whole movie was just them two chatting on top of a camper van and just hashing things out.
Yeah.
I could have done without the whole, okay, we're in spoiler territory, without the whole sleeper agent thing. Who's kind of changed her face.
Amnesia, but also she can pick up skills really quickly. And
yeah. They do a big info dump.
Made her a killing machine.
There's a big info dump moment where they said like there's this condition where you can hit your head so hard that
you become a killer.
You become a superhero. Yeah.
You become a superhero contract killer.
And there's this crash cut where it's like this poor lady. She was been in an accident, went through the windscreen, hit her head, had blunt force trauma, and then had to have a whole face reconstructed, and suddenly she's doing jujitsu.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess they have set it up. To be fair, they have set it up. So we're right to assume that, yeah, that checks out. This person can just become a killing machine.
Yeah.
But that was, when I said earlier, like, how do we get here? That's the kind of stuff that I just didn't quite buy.
Yeah. Especially with the handy dandy videos they had. Like.
I mean, that was the least intriguing part of the movie.
I thought the family stuff was quite almost melancholy, it felt.
Yeah.
Where you had these two people who ostensibly, on paper, they should at least enjoy each other's company, hopefully, because they're brothers, they're family. I mean, not every family gets on, I know, but and it's that sort of melancholy thing of like they both want the other person to reach out, and they don't know quite how to communicate with each other, even though they know each other pretty much inside out.
Braxton is the one who was like waiting for him, and Christian was the one who just didn't reach out because he didn't know how to for years. Yeah. So
because there was that sequence where like Braxton is a horrible contract killer who's like he's the best of the best, but also there's that realistic vein running through the movie where he's like, hey, I'm a heartless contract killer, but at the same time, like, why didn't you call me all those years?
You really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm with you that they could have gotten rid of all the contract killer stuff, which it was handled well enough.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch any of the action sequences and think this is terrible.
Yeah.
I just thought this is okay.
Yeah. That's how I felt during the 3rd act when I saw the whole obligatory gunfight sequence.
Yeah.
I was just
we're at the finale now, so we need to fight with guns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we established that in the first one. We have to do it in the second one. But yeah, I did find a few times throughout the movie I was kind of checking my watch because I just was not really interested in any of the plot heavy stuff. I was just, like we said, I was more interested in the dynamic between the two brothers than anything. And I think that's as much as we can say about the movie. That's it, really.
I don't think this is one people are going to be writing essays about, for better or worse.
I'm surprised the studio didn't.
Why Braxton represents the 7 sins. That'll be a YouTube video.
Yeah. And then there's somebody else.
Why Christian Wolf doesn't use pronouns, that sort of thing.
I wonder why the studio didn't write the movie off as like a tax write-off, being a movie about. It would have been so
Warner
ironic.
Brothers as well. We've written off The Accountant 3.
Was that actually Warner Brothers?
For the tax return money.
It wasn't Warner Brothers, was it?
I think it was.
No, it was. Oh my gosh, it was Warner Brothers.
It was both of them, MGM and Amazon.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
That joke is evergreen now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we pitch a movie?
Face? Yeah, go on then.
Let's pitch our own movie. Chatting Pitch has been brought to you by Leslie Way and Matthew D. Smith. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to listen to others and maybe even subscribe. You can follow us on the website, formerly known as Twitter.
Listen to us on Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Leslie and Matthew have their own side hustles as well. Feel free to check out Leslie's YouTube channel or Matthew's Medium blog. Links in the description. If you want anything else, we might have other links in the description if we think of anything interesting to add. Thank you for listening. I love you.